Hi guys, Guju64 here, and today we're going to be talking about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. As you can tell, I'm still not back on my set just yet, but I did get back from seeing Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I'm so excited to get this review to you guys because, man, it was really nice to see a movie that was not based on a book. It was an adaptation. It wasn't a reboot of some previous thing. It wasn't a sequel. It was an original story, and man, I'm excited to talk about this one. I hope you guys are ready for the truth.
Oh, geek.
True. 64.
Geek.
Truth.
Geek.
True. 64. Oh, shit.
So I'm going to start off with this. If you are a fan of Tarantino movies, you will like this movie. You will love this movie if you're a fan of Tarantino movies. If you are not a fan of Tarantino movies, you probably won't like it. However, if you are a fan of like period movies, man, this movie is it just does a great job of immersing you into the period, into the early 70s. It really immerses you into the world, and a lot of that is due to just Tarantino's style in general, which is a lot of scenes that seem pretty insignificant or may actually be insignificant, but just build an atmosphere around them. So when you're watching the movie, yes, there are some scenes that, as far as pacing or story-wise or even character-driven stuff that don't necessarily need to be in there, but they, for the most part, even the stuff that's irrelevant, like builds into an environment and gets you into the world he's trying to build and gets you into that atmosphere. Like I said, the pacing suffers because of this. It is a long movie. It's not as long as some of Tarantino's other movies. I think it comes in like 2 hours and 40 minutes. It's long. I think that there are some stuff they could probably take out. The good thing about Tarantino, and I'm not a huge Tarantino fan. I don't love all of his movies. But what I love about Tarantino is that he is established enough that he can make movies as a filmmaker without all the studio interference. And that's really what I loved about this, because this is not a normal movie. Tarantino movies are not normal movies. They aren't made to make like $1 billion plus. They are a filmmaker's vision of what a movie he wants to make, and he sticks to that, and that I can wholly appreciate. If you've seen Inglourious Bastards, if you've seen Django Unchained, other Tarantino movies, it feels like a Tarantino movie, especially towards the end. He just has a very unique style, and as I said, I'm not like a huge Tarantino fanboy or anything like that, but I do appreciate his movies. I did like this movie. Leonardo DiCaprio is amazing. I swear, this dude is like one of the best actors working today. I loved him in Wolf of Wall Street. I loved him in Django Unchained. He delivered like great standout performances in both those movies. The Revenant, just good stuff, man. Leonardo DiCaprio, I can't believe he just finally got an Oscar. He delivers some of the best lines, some of the best scenes in this movie by far. I loved his character. He plays a kind of a washed up actor. And I just love what they do. He made me laugh multiple times. And the thing is the jokes in this movie are not they're not stand up, they're not in your face, they're not fart jokes, they're just funny scenes based on a great performances and some great dialogue that, and man, I laughed a lot during this movie. I'm not gonna lie, the comedy landed a lot. Every time there was supposed to be something that was kind of funny, I laughed. Brad Pitt was great in this movie. He basically plays a complete contrast to what Leonardo DiCaprio's character plays in this movie. He's very much a straight man. He goes home, he makes mac and cheese, has a dog that's just built like a rock, and his dog is awesome too. I just really like Brad Pitt's character, but for a completely different reason than what I like DiCaprio's character, because as I said, they're very contrast to each other. Brad Pitt's very much a straight man in this movie, and I think they both did a great job for what was going on, and that's really what the movie is about. Now, a lot of people may think that this is really about the Charles Manson murders and Sharon Tate, played by Margot Robbie. The movie's about DiCaprio's character and Brad Pitt's character. That's what the movie centers around, and I think people kind of got that from the trailer. If you didn't, just to give you guys a heads up, if you do go see it, which I highly encourage, because Once Upon a Time is an original movie that I do encourage you guys to go out and check out. Let's give our money towards original features instead of soulless cash grabs. As I said, it's really the acting. The acting carries this movie so well. I mean, it's shot very well. Like I said, the pacing has a problem, but the atmosphere, the characters, the dialogue, that stuff is what gets you into the movie. And the last, 20 minutes of this movie is, I swear, some of the best stuff I've seen in a theater in a while. For those who may be bored, if they go and see this, they may be bored at some scenes. I understand that. As I said, it's mainly there to build atmosphere, and I think it does that extremely well. But anybody who may be going to see this and be bored, the last 20 to 25 minutes of this movie is so much fun. As I said, some of the best stuff I've seen in a theater in a while. I will say that Damian Lewis, who plays Steve McQueen, has a very bit part in the movie. But man, what great casting. This dude as Steve McQueen is amazing. He's been in lots of things, most prominently Band of Brothers. The casting of Mike Moy as Bruce Lee, also amazing. The casting in this movie is really great. I was actually really surprised. I think they did a top-notch job with the casting in this movie. The thing with Margot Robbie, she plays Sharon Tate, and obviously in real life, she was killed by the followers of Charles Manson. Now, her scenes in the movie are kind of built to create a tension. They were built to create a believability factor, I guess, to what's going on. And my problem with most of those scenes is she doesn't interact so much with the main characters. And when we do get those scenes, I feel like the movie kind of grinds to a halt when it cuts back to Margot Robbie and Sharon Tate. And I just feel like it could have been blended together better than what it was. Like I said, it's mostly about delivering great performances and building an environment. And I do think that the movie does that extremely well, better than most movies I've ever seen. But from an objective perspective, every time it cut back to Margot Robbie as Sharon Tate, it just felt like the movie grinded to a halt for me personally. I would definitely take out some chunks in this movie, probably trim it down a little bit. I'd probably take out some scenes. You could probably get this thing down to about 2 hours. And I feel like that's probably the sweet spot for this movie. There are some scenes that are completely irrelevant. There are some scenes that go on a long time and build some tension that doesn't really get a payoff. You have some scenes that spend a lot of time doing something and they don't really pay off till towards the end, and it doesn't really amount to a whole lot. And that's the main drawback to this movie. I could see some people getting bored. I wasn't bored while watching this, but from an objective perspective, I definitely would take out some scenes to streamline this movie. I feel like the movie could benefit from that. What I will say is that if you guys have seen this, or even if you have not seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I would recommend The Nice Guys. The Nice Guys had Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling, set in a similar time period. It even had, I believe the actress in Nice Guys was also an actress in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I think they're great companion pieces, like unintentionally, because Nice Guys was done by Shane Black, completely different style. But I love The Nice Guys. It was a movie that a lot of people missed. So I'm just going to give a plug in here for The Nice Guys. If you guys are interested in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I would check out The Nice Guys also. It was a great movie. So to recap, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the acting is some of the best stuff you're going to see at the theaters this year by far. If you love period movies, you should definitely go check this out because it builds a great atmosphere and throws you directly into the 70s. I love that. Those are the best aspects of this movie. If you are a fan of Tarantino movies, you should go see this movie. Obviously, if you're not a fan of Tarantino, you may not enjoy this. If you're a fan of period movies, I would give it a shot. I think it does a good job with that. Like I said, great acting. The negatives are basically that the pacing could use some work. There's some scenes that could probably be taken out. It has a long run time, so I understand how some people might be bored during it. But overall, I had such a fun time with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. No pun intended, totally unintentional. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was so good. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood may not be a movie you rewatch a whole lot, but I feel like I'm going to go and call it now. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is going to be one of those movies that may become a cult classic. It may not make a ton of money at the theaters. It may not be the most popular movie this year, but I feel like in time, people will view Once Upon a Time in Hollywood as a cult classic among Tarantino's best movies. So in the end, I'm going to give Once Upon a Time in Hollywood 8.5 Margot Robbies out of 10. If you like this review, please like and subscribe, or don't. I'm not a beggar. I'm Geek264, and I'll always tell you the truth.